Hey guys, this is Haley from 101rabbits.com, and in today's video, I'm going to be talking about, do rabbits need friends? So basically, do rabbits need to be bonded with another rabbit? Is that something that's a necessity or just something that you can do if you want? So the short answer is yes, rabbits do need to be bonded with other rabbits. I'm going to be explaining that in this video and also be answering a lot of common questions that I get about this topic. So all rabbits should ultimately have a bonded friend, and the reason why is that our rabbits are domesticated from the European rabbit species. European rabbits are extremely social. In the wild, they live in big communities, big colonies, and even though our rabbits are domesticated, they are still European rabbits and require the same basic needs as a European rabbit would. And technically, they still are European rabbits, so it's not like they've changed, they've just been domesticated. So living among other rabbits is part of who they are, and they crave other rabbits' attention. As rabbit owners, we should always be striving to provide the best rabbit care we can to our rabbits. Part of that is trying to provide for them how they would be living in their natural wild state, and to deprive them of that one basic need that they crave and that they want and that they ultimately thrive on is honestly selfish on our part as rabbit owners if we're not providing that. So that is the main reason that rabbits need a friend. It's part of their instincts, it's part of who they are. They live in huge communities out in the wild. So because of that, we need to be providing our rabbits a friend, even though they are now in captivity. So now I want to kind of touch base on a couple of arguments that people give about why they think their rabbit should be single, and just kind of debunking those myths. The first one is, what if my rabbit loves me less or spends less time with me because I get it a friend? This one is extremely frustrating to me because I do see it a lot, and it's completely false, by the way. But even if it wasn't false, to deprive a rabbit of its core needs because you're afraid it wouldn't love you the same is extremely selfish and definitely not a reason not to get a rabbit a friend. This is like a parent telling their child they cannot have friends or they can never get married or be in a relationship because they want them to spend all of their time with the parent. That's extremely selfish and probably abusive to the standards. And honestly, it's a very dumb thing because even if your kid has friends or even if your rabbit has a friend, that does not mean they're not going to love you the same or pay attention to you the same. I have a bunny, Lulu, who is extremely social. She's my most social rabbit I've ever had, and that never changed when I bonded her to Mocha. It still hasn't changed after Mocha's passed away. And another rabbit can provide so much more love and interaction than a human can to a rabbit. Another argument I see is, can't I provide the attention my rabbit needs? A lot of people say they're home all day long, they can spend time with their rabbit all day long, but no, this is not the same as providing your rabbit a friend. A human can never provide the same amount of attention that another rabbit could. This is because human and rabbits are not the same species. They cannot communicate on the same level. They totally have different lifestyles, different needs, different wants, and to be quite honest, you cannot be with your rabbit 24/7, even if you tell me you can. You would have no life if you literally sat by your rabbit 24/7. Humans cannot groom rabbits the same, they cannot snuggle rabbits the same, they can't play and interact the same as other rabbits. This is not providing the same amount of interaction that your rabbit needs. Sorry for the angle change, but I forgot to add this into the video. Another question some people might have is, can't I just bond my rabbit with another animal? Like a guinea pig or a cat or a dog? And no, definitely do not do this. This is very dangerous for both species involved. A lot of the times different species can cause different bacteria or pass different illnesses to each other. Obviously, both species have totally different diet requirements, different habitat needs, different enrichment needs. They're also different species, which means they cannot communicate. This is basically like a human trying to communicate with a rabbit. There's still that barrier of not being the same species. Guinea pigs should also never be housed with rabbits. They are different species, they shouldn't be together. And dogs and cats and other animals like that, dogs and cats are predators and rabbits are prey. That basically does not mix at all. And rabbits should never be alone with a predator species, as this could be very dangerous. Even if you trust your cat or your dog or other animal, it should never be done because they are still at their core a predator and rabbits are prey. Another one is, what if you don't have enough money for another rabbit? So this one is definitely hard. Ultimately, you shouldn't be getting a rabbit if you cannot provide its basic needs, and having a friend is one of those basic needs. But I do understand that some people get rabbits without doing research first, and then later on, after researching, realize that they didn't know rabbits needed a friend or something like that. And I do understand those situations do occur, and people are probably like, well, what do I do? Do I get rid of my rabbit if I can't have a friend or whatever? Honestly, I think in this situation, it is best just to try to work and find more money to be able to provide a friend for your rabbit in the future. This could be budgeting your money better, or maybe, you know, picking up a couple hours more of work and just actively trying to find more ways to provide for another rabbit. Make sure that you have enough money for all of their food, all of their vet care, all of their enrichment before getting a rabbit, of course. But I definitely think it can be done. I know it can be a lot harder if you are still a kid. That's one of the reasons why I don't necessarily recommend rabbits as just child's pets, because they are very, very expensive. Another one is, what if my rabbit is sick? So depending on the illness or the condition, a lot of rabbits can be bonded just fine. For example, deaf, blind, or head tilt bunnies, I've seen them bond wonderfully with other rabbits, and they actually thrive better being with another rabbit. My past rabbit Mocha was deaf, and towards the end he was almost blind, and he really used Lulu as a seeing and hearing eye dog, basically. He would follow her around so he wouldn't hit walls. He would sit next to her so he would know when it was time to eat, because she would get excited and he would feel that. So honestly, a lot of conditions are completely fine to be bonded with other bunnies. If your rabbit is suffering from an illness that is contagious, obviously make sure you treat that condition first and get the all clear from your vet before bonding them to another rabbit. You definitely don't want to be getting another rabbit sick with something that, you know, could be dangerous. So with very old rabbits who have limited mobility, very high pain, and compromised immune systems, this is something you'll want to speak to your vet about, as it's going to be a case-by-case situation. You need to ask your vet if a bonding process is going to be too stressful on your rabbit and cause their immune system to be more compromised, or if a bonding process could cause a lot of extreme pain to them, you know, if a rabbit's humping them or chasing them or biting them, which all can happen during a bonding process. That's just a conversation you need to have with your vet. I've had this conversation with my vet about my rabbit Lulu. Lulu was bonded for 8 years with Mocha, and she did wonderfully with him. They loved each other, but sadly he did pass away from, you know, just old age, and he had a lot of issues and a lot of illnesses, and that left Lulu a single rabbit. So because of that, I had to decide if I was going to bond her with another bunny or keep her single. And then me and my vet decided we were gonna keep her single because of her extreme arthritis, extreme pain, limited mobility. There was just a lot of issues that a bonding process could potentially make worse, or could potentially lower her immune system so much that could make her very ill. And also keep in mind, my rabbit Lulu is 10 years old, but this is definitely a case-by-case situation. There are some older rabbits who are completely fine or have way more mobility than my rabbit Lulu has, so definitely speak to your vet about this and ask them their opinion. Another question could be, what if my housing doesn't allow more than one pet? So this could be a situation where you're renting from someone, you're renting a house, you're renting an apartment, and your landlord has a rule that you can only have one pet. In this situation, I would probably go up to your landlord and explain that rabbits are much different than other animals. A lot of the times this rule could be for cats or dogs mainly, and those are much larger animals and, you know, have different needs and requirements. So I would explain the situation, explain how rabbits are different. If your landlord still says no, I think honestly I would wait until your lease is up and start looking for other apartments that might allow 2 bunnies. Normally leases are only about like 1 year long, so you wouldn't have to wait too long until you could find another place that would hopefully allow 2 bunnies. What if my parents don't let me get another bunny? So this one is also hard. Obviously, like I said before, rabbits aren't the best pets for children for this reason. It should definitely be a family decision to get a rabbit because they do require so much time, so much money. But if you are in this situation, I would sit down with your parents and explain to them why rabbits need a friend. And also explain to them that once your rabbits are bonded, it's honestly no different than having one bunny. Like my rabbits, as long as they're bonded, you know, it's just as easy with the care. You just give them veggies and water and hay. It's honestly the same thing as having one rabbit, only there's two rabbits. I don't know if that makes sense. Obviously, for a little bit of time before they're bonded, they will have to be kept separately. But once they're bonded, honestly, it's completely the same as having one bunny. If your parents still say no, just keep in mind that you won't be living in your parents' home forever. Once you're 18 or once you can move out, you can find your own place, get your own job, get another bunny. This is only temporary, and honestly, even though it feels like you're gonna be a kid forever, it honestly isn't that long, and enjoy it while it lasts. Another one could be, what if I don't know how to bond rabbits? Bonding can definitely be a stressful process. However, with proper research, bonding can actually be quite simple. I would first look into rabbit rescues in your area. Some rabbit rescues do have a program where you can bring your rabbit to the rescue and they keep your rabbit and they kind of try it out with different rabbits in their rescue, and then they bond your rabbit and then they let you know when they're bonded and you can take them home. That's one option. Sometimes it takes like, a couple weeks or whatever, but then you end up with two bunnies who are bonded. I personally don't have any places like that around me, but another option you could try is something called bunny dating, where you take your bunny to an animal rescue and you ask if you can just let your rabbit interact with different rabbits and see which one they have the best response to, and then you adopt that rabbit, bring it home, and finish the bonding process. So that's another way you can do it. Also, some rescues will allow you to do foster to adopt, so you could take the rabbit home that you think is best apt to get along, and you can foster them, and once they're bonded, you can officially adopt them. Just in case, it doesn't work out, you can try a different rabbit, but not all rescues offer that, so that's something you're gonna have to ask. I personally have never done bunny dating or anything like that. I've always just gotten a rabbit and bonded them afterwards, and it's normally worked out for me. Obviously, there are certain situations where rabbits' personalities just don't get along, but that's not always the case. So if bunny dating isn't necessarily an option, I wouldn't be afraid to adopt another rabbit and try the bonding process. Make sure you do a lot of research on bonding. There's tons of resources online. I also plan on doing an updated bonding video. I believe my bonding video I have on my channel is quite old, so I hope to be doing that in the future. But as long as you're doing research and you know the basics on, what to look out for, how to keep everyone safe and stuff like that, honestly, it's not too difficult. I also want to mention, if you don't currently have a bunny and you're looking to get a bunny, a lot of the times you can adopt bonded pairs or sometimes even trios from an animal shelter that they're already bonded and they're looking for new homes and they don't want to be separated. That is a really good thing because you can totally skip the whole bonding process. So that is another option for those of you guys who don't already currently have rabbits. Another one is, what if I can't afford spaying and neutering? So rabbits must be spayed and neutered to be bonded to another rabbit. But honestly, if you can't afford to spay and neuter your bunny, you probably shouldn't have a rabbit in the first place, because rabbits require so much money, and spaying and neutering honestly is one of the lower costs that you're gonna experience with rabbits. It's about $300 where I live. I know it can be way more expensive in other parts of the country or the world, but honestly, I've spent way more on emergency vet care, on medications, normal vet visits, tests, or even just hay. There's so much cost that go into having rabbits that if you can't afford to spay and neuter a bunny, you probably shouldn't have a bunny in the first place. However, for those of you guys who can afford it, but obviously it's always nice to save money, if you adopt a rabbit from a rescue, most times they should be spayed and neutered. If it's a good rescue, the rabbits should be spayed and neutered, so that is definitely a good thing. Obviously, if you don't have to spend $300, it's nice, but if you have a rabbit that's not spayed and neutered, you do need to get them fixed. Not just for bonding purposes, but for their health and well-being and for them to live long and happy lives. Another one is, what if my rabbit hates all other bunnies? This one, I guarantee you, is false. Yes, there are some rabbits that don't get along. For example, my rabbit Lulu does not get along with Sterling or Ebony. And that is just because their personalities clash, they don't get along, and that's just normal. Some people don't get along with other people, and that's just a fact of life. But I guarantee you, it doesn't mean they won't like any bunny. Lulu loved Mocha, and he was honestly the perfect bunny for her. There's definitely a bunny out there that your bunny will be friends with. Some rabbits just have, you know, stronger personalities, which means maybe they don't get along as well with some other bunnies. But honestly, there's gonna be a rabbit out there that bonds with your bunny. But this is when bunny dating is a really good idea. If you know that your rabbit has issues sometimes with certain rabbits, you can go to an animal rescue and try a bunch of different rabbits and see which one your rabbit gets along with best. And a lot of the times there's many rescues within, you know, an hour distance from where you live. So there's always more options. Rescues are always getting more rabbits in, and this should definitely not be a reason not to bond your rabbit. Rabbits will definitely find someone they'll get along with. Sometimes it just takes a little bit of time. But just because your rabbit has met 1 or 2 bunnies and they've fought should not be the reason. I also want to make a note that rabbits can fight and still be friends. A lot of the times rabbits fight when they first meet each other is because you are not providing the right environment on where they meet. Like, even if it's a neutral territory, if the situation isn't correct, it can cause a rabbit to fight, sometimes even draw blood. Fighting is natural, fighting is gonna be normal in the beginning, but it's gonna be even more apt to happen if your environment in the bonding process isn't right. So I hope that makes sense. But Mocha and Lulu fought before they were bonded, Sterling and Ebony fought before they were bonded, and then they all loved each other. So yes, there are certain situations where certain rabbits won't like each other, but a lot of the times rabbits can get along just fine if you know how to bond properly. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope this answered your question on if a rabbit needs a friend. If you haven't got it by now, yes, rabbits do need friends and they do need to be bonded with other bunnies. Another quick thing I'll mention is, yes, rabbits can be bonded in more than pairs. People can bond up to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rabbits. Honestly, pairs are probably the easiest, especially if you've never bonded before, and I'd probably just start with a pair if you're a beginner. But that's basically it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and don't forget to leave a thumbs up if you learned something new. Subscribe to see more videos about rabbits and rabbit care, and I will see you guys very soon on a new video. Bye! For example, death. Milo, stop eating Cheerios. Don't eat Cheerios. Get down. Milo, come here. Come on.